Greetings. I am Taven of a Mind Transformed, and this is Manna for your journey. Have you ever felt public ridicule or public shame or harbored guilt of something that was done to you or something you've done in your past? So much so that it caused you to shy away from people or not be accepted by people. You've been rejected, you've been ostracized, and you've kind of accepted, or during that time, you've accepted that's just who you are. Maybe someone you know, has gone as far as to make a fresh start. The ridicule, the shame, being ostracized became too much and decided to go to a new place or start afresh if that was an option. If you've had those feelings or you even struggle with that now, you're not alone. Luke 8:43 through 48 tells us one of the versions in the three synoptic gospels of the woman with the issue of blood. For 12 years, she had a flow of blood, and she spent all of her money going to doctors, and yet she couldn't be cured of this infirmity, this issue she carried. Well, based on the time frame she lived in the days of the Jews, the children of Israel, she was going to be ceremonially unclean. That carries a lot of ostracization with it. That carries a lot of being separated, being shunned, being cast out of society when she was ceremonially unclean. One of the things that she couldn't do is she couldn't go to the temple or the synagogues. She couldn't go to church. Have you felt like there's something in your life that causes you not to be able to step into God's presence or be around God's people because of something you may feel or the looks you may get? She experienced that. I wonder how she was able even to secure food or clothing, how she went into the marketplace and she was able to barter to get what she needed. She would be one of those people that as she walked by, people would pick up their children and cross the road or get as far away from her as possible. They wouldn't want their children anywhere near them. They would whisper to their kids, stay away from that lady. Don't go near her. Don't let her touch you. Don't take anything from her, because if so, whoever she touched would also be ceremonially unclean, and they would have to go through a ritual before they were allowed back into society, allowed to go back to the temple and things like that. So this woman, having dealt with this guilt, shame for 12 years, hears that Jesus is in the area. And she knows, she's heard of the miracles and the signs and wonders. And she knows that if she can just get into God's presence, maybe, just maybe, there's going to be healing. And yet Jesus always attracted a crowd. The authentic presence of God always attracts a crowd. And Jesus attracted a crowd. There were people on all sides as he was going to Jairus' house because he was on his way to heal his daughter. So the woman had to find some way to get to Jesus. So she pressed her way through the crowd. And this is the story where we hear that she touched the hem of his garment, and immediately she was made well. And she got what she wanted. She felt like she snuck into God's presence and she was ready to sneak out, didn't want any acknowledgement, didn't want anybody to see her. But Jesus stopped in that moment and said, "Who touched me?" And his disciples, of course, are like, all of these people around, everybody's touching you. But Jesus said, "No, power went out of me." And the Bible tells us in Luke 8:43 through 48, when she saw that she hadn't escaped notice, what she wanted to do was get in and out unnoticed. She had lived on the fringes of society so long that she just didn't want any real interaction. She wanted to get her healing and just sneak away, slip away, as if she was never there. But Jesus didn't allow her to do that, because while she was healed, she wasn't restored. And God is not a God that does anything halfway or anything incomplete. If there's going to be healing, there's going to be restoration. Restoration is the removal of the guilt, the stigmatism, and the shame of that thing from which we had to be healed. One more time. Restoration is the removal of the guilt, the stigmatism, and the shame of that thing from which we had to be healed. Had she just touched his garment and went back, people would not have known that she had been healed. She would have had to go prove herself that she was healed. She would have to go to doctors. She would have to then potentially spend more money before she was accepted back into society. But when Jesus stopped, called her out in front of everybody, made her front and center, all eyes on her. She maybe was uncomfortable in that situation, but he told her that her faith had made her well. Jesus was proclaiming to everyone that she was healed, and now she was fully restored back to her right in society. Had she had it her way, she would have left with her miracle being halfway completed. God is not a God of halfway. Anything God wants to heal you of, he also wants to remove the stigmatism, the shame, and the guilt publicly. God will never let public ridicule turn into private restoration. God is going to heal, and your healing may be public. It may be in a situation where you find yourself uncomfortable, a situation where all eyes on you. But when that happens, it's God wanting to restore you in the eyes of others, restore you back so you no longer have to carry the guilt or the shame, the stigmatism that went along with what happened to you. That's what freedom truly is. And God came to set the captives free, and he wants us to walk in freedom. Restoration is needed anytime there's healing. Well, that's all I have for you today. Again, my name is Taven of A Mind Transformed. This has been Manna for Your Journey. Be blessed.